Vegetable gardening here in the low desert of Arizona can certainly be challenging. Principles that work in other areas, the guidelines on the back of seed packets, and general zone requirements often don't apply when you're gardening here in the low desert. However, having a successful vegetable garden is certainly possible. And in today's video, I'm going to share some of the benefits we enjoy from gardening here, some of the challenges, and give you 7 principles to follow to help you have a successful vegetable garden. But if we haven't met before, my name's Angela from Growing in the Garden, and I love to share garden inspiration and helpful tips so you can be successful in your own garden. Although sometimes it's easy to focus on the challenges of gardening here in the low desert, I want to point out some of the amazing benefits. The first one that comes to mind for me is the abundant sunshine. Almost every day of the year, we have plenty of sunshine, and that makes vegetable gardens very happy. Another benefit is the ability to garden outdoors year-round. You can harvest vegetables, herbs, fruit, and flowers from your garden every day of the year if you'd like. Another favorite reason is the abundant citrus that grows so easily here. Arizona is one of just a handful of states that grows citrus commercially. Okay, so let's be honest, there are definitely some challenges when we are gardening in Arizona. The first one, of course, is the heat. The extreme heat that we face several months of the year. There are very few vegetables that can tolerate that high extreme heat. In fact, many of your plants in your landscape and in your garden go into a type of summer dormancy, kind of shutting down a little bit until that extreme heat is gone. Another challenge is the low humidity. Many desert-adapted plants, such as cactus, succulents, and plants with waxy leaves, are adapted to having less humidity. However, most vegetables and garden plants do better with more moisture in the air than Arizona has during most months of the year. Our native clay soil is wonderful for desert-adapted plants and many of the plants that grow in our landscape. It also contains many minerals. That same soil is typically pretty alkaline and very low in organic matter. Most vegetable gardens require more acidic soil and a lot more organic matter. Caliche or hardpan can definitely also present challenges for drainage. All right, enough talk about the challenges. So I'm going to share 7 principles that, when followed, will help you have a successful vegetable garden. The first one is the location. You have to choose the right location. Vegetable gardens need at least 6 hours of sun and hopefully more in order to thrive. We have an abundance of sun, but the type of sunlight we get varies. Morning sun is ideal for a vegetable garden. Its rays are strong and cool. On the other hand, the harsh afternoon sun is harder on gardens, especially during the summer. So it is important to choose an area, if possible, that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. Spend some time in your yard right after sunrise and notice where you receive those first rays of morning sunlight. If your garden receives full sun, you're probably going to need to add some shade to your garden, but you can't add sun. So choose a location that gets plenty of sunlight. When you're choosing that location, make sure that there is a water source nearby because we definitely need to water our gardens here in the low desert. The next principle is to focus on your soil. It is possible to grow vegetables in native soil. However, native soil is great for growing native plants, not always as good for growing fruits and vegetables. So having a raised bed allows you to add soil that is more suited to growing a vegetable garden right away. And because our seasons are shorter, we ask a lot of those plants. We want them to sprout, grow, and produce in a relatively short amount of time. So we need to give them everything they need there in that soil. If you follow organic gardening principles, each year that soil in your beds is going to get better and better. I like to plant in a combination of compost, coconut coir, and either vermiculite or perlite. That combination, along with some azomite for minerals, that mixture of ingredients gives your garden what it needs to thrive. If you live here in the Phoenix metro area, I have partnered with Arizona Worm Farm to use their compost in a raised bed mixture that works great. Another important principle regarding your soil is to have your soil tested regularly, especially if things aren't going well. A soil test will unlock the mysteries of what is going on in your garden. The next principle is to plant vegetables at the right time. If you follow the guidelines on the back of seed packets or general zone planting requirements, you're going to struggle. Instead of having one long growing season here in the low desert, we have 3 shorter growing seasons. The cool season crops grow from about September to March. Warm season crops grow from about February after our last frost through about May. And then we have a monsoon planting that begins with the increased rain and humidity of July or August. So those are typically our big planting seasons. Use a planting guide designed for the low desert to take the guesswork out of when to plant. Planting the right crop at the right time helps you be successful. Not only is it important to plant at the right time, it's also important to choose the best types of crops for our short growing season. So when you have a choice, look for a shorter days to harvest on the seed packet. Smaller varieties of tomatoes often do better here than the larger varieties. It's also important to choose plants that are adapted to the growing conditions here in the low desert. There are a couple of different ways to do this. Look for local growers. Native Seed Search offers arid-adapted seed varieties that tolerate the heat and drought of an Arizona summer better than varieties that grow well in other regions. Another excellent way to have varieties that are suited to our region is to save your own seeds. As you learn how to save your seeds from year to year, those seeds will be ones that have grown well in your garden and will continue to grow well as you save those seeds. The next principle to understand is the importance of microclimates in your yard. Notice in your yard which areas receive the most sunlight, which areas receive that morning sun, which areas receive afternoon sun. Use that to your advantage. Learn about the different plants that you're growing and match them up to the different microclimates in your yard. All right, this next principle is a big one: watering. Most problems in the garden can be traced back to incorrect watering, either too much water or not enough. It is important to get this one right. Plants that are stressed either from too much water or not enough water are more prone to pests and diseases. When you spend time in your garden each day, you'll be able to see if the water needs of your plants are being met. It's so important to pay attention to the weather. It may seem obvious during the hottest and driest months of the year, your vegetable garden may need water every day. Other times of the year, you may only need water once every week or every 10 days. Adjust the frequency of watering, but not necessarily the duration. Each time you're going to water long enough to penetrate that entire root zone. And the last watering tip is to water the soil, not the plant. This saves water as well as prevents many plant diseases. Finally, the last principle that is going to help you have a successful garden is mulch. Mulching is so important to vegetable gardens, and it's crucial here in the low desert, especially during those summer months. Add a 3-inch layer of organic mulch on top of the soil around your vegetables. Mulching helps in several ways. The thick layer of mulch helps protect the roots from extremes in temperatures, and most important, mulching is going to help preserve that moisture that is in the soil, and you won't have to water as often, and plants won't dry out as quickly. Although it may seem challenging and a little bit overwhelming, the good definitely outweighs the bad when you're growing a vegetable garden here in the low desert. I hope you'll give it a try. Thank you so much for watching.